Well, here we are. It is Monday, March 10th, and today we're going to take a look at the Sotheby sale that's coming up in a few days on the 18th and the 19th of this month in New York City. It's an interesting sale, and there's some great things in there from the Carnegie Museum that were collected by a Mr. George Tabor, who was a very well-known collector of his day, and there's some exceptional pieces in the catalog from his collection, the two in particular. But we're going to get into them a little bit. There's a if you go to the website over at Bitamount and go to the catalog section, you'll find the catalog in there, and you can go through it and read a bit about the history of the collection and the Carnegie Institute and so forth in Pittsburgh. It's a pretty amazing place. It's one of those great museums. I don't know why they're deaccessioning these pieces, because they're not likely to ever get other ones back as nice as the pieces they're getting rid of, but that's what they're doing, and deaccessions are a great way for very powerful collectors to build their collections with something impeccable. And we're going to see how they do. Well, the prices, the estimates are very strong because the pieces are very rare. And that's the most important part of that. I guess overall, it's an interesting sale because they cover all of the bases. They've got lots and lots of porcelain. They've got lots of jades. There's a huge component of Ming and Yuan Dynasty bronzes. There's some earlier bronzes, some archaistic examples. There's some very good furniture, including an extraordinary bed. It's a real interesting auction, and it's a fairly big sale. It's 400 lots, basically, and you don't see 400 lot sales of Chinese art quite as much as you did a few years ago. And I think there's some reluctance in the market for people to be selling things. So right now, people are a little bit worried about if they sell now, are they gonna maybe not make back as much money as they thought they would, or whatever. As I've said so many times, do not buy art as an investment. Buy it because you love it. And the dividends are the ownership, and that's really all you can really hope for. But here we are, and let's get started on this because it's pretty interesting. This is the first page of the sale. This is on the Sotheby site. It's all up there right now. You can go and look at it. And as you can see, the beginning of the sale starts with Chinese ceramics, and then it moves on. They got some very fine monochromes, some good enamel pieces, good blue and white pieces. There are lots of transitional wares in the sale. If you're a transitional ware buyer, Chongzhen period, Wan Li period, transitional in that era, 17th century porcelains, you want to check the sale out. There's quite a few lots in here. There's some very, very good early bronzes, Western Han and so forth. And it goes on and on and on. Lots of interesting bits in here. And there are things in here for, not everything in this sale has massive estimates. Sometimes people get a little intimidated by the New York sales. They say, well, it's going to be too expensive. There are lots and lots of lots in here for under $5,000 or $10,000. There's quite a few of them, actually, which is very encouraging to see. And I would, if you're a buyer in that price range, which most people are, very few people get up into the 20 and 30 and 50 and 100,000. That's a very small club of people. So don't be afraid to look at these catalogs. You might find something you can afford, and you might find something you absolutely want to own. All right. And I'm going to go through some of the lots. I just picked out the pieces in the sale. I've got about 15 or 20 of them here just to go through the pieces I like. These are the things that aesthetically appeal to me the most. One of them at the top of the pile was this very nice Sui Dynasty piece. Absolutely amazing looking piece. Let's see, what are they giving this? 17th year corresponding to 597. This is 14 inches tall, and it was sold last time around by Eskenazi Company in London. The famous dealer who handles the best of the best is this. I love this. This is just such a wonderful, wonderful carving. The facial expression, the alcoves at the bottom with spiritual figures and demons and vases and all kinds of things going on. Very, very attractive. Notice the folds of the robes going over the edges of the stone and so forth. This is an amazing piece. And considering that when it was made, it makes it even more amazing. And it's in very nice condition. Dates to 597 AD. Very, very nice piece. The estimate is $40,000 to $60,000. But keep in mind, this is a big piece. It's 14 inches. So it's about that big. It's not a small thing. It's a big thing. It's a presentation piece. Extremely extremely attractive. And then heading over to this, if you like Tang pottery, and this doesn't have a huge estimate. I want to point that out from the beginning here before I talk about it. $3,000 to $5,000. This is an exceptionally nice piece of Senkai glazed. It's a water vessel, absolutely beautiful quality, very finely done, very, very fresh, very clean looking, lots of interesting details on it. Nice interior glaze, that beautiful warm amber glaze on the exterior. I really like this. I thought this was a terrific example. There's a good photograph of the interior. There it is. Just a beautiful looking washer. Absolutely fine and fully glazed. And not all Tang pieces are, of course. Some of them are just partially glazed. This one is fully glazed, top and bottom. There's the bottom of it, like a lotus pod. Just a beautiful example. Estimated $3,000 to $5,000. It's a great piece for $3,000 to $5,000. Absolutely great. Let's see here. Metal stand, provenance. Was sold last time at Christie's in 2002. So it was sold, last time it was on the market was over 23 years ago, which is quite a while. And prices have changed since then, but that's a nice one. And then this, the arrow vase. I like arrow vases. This is a late Ming example. Most of them are, but this is a very nice one. And for one reason in particular, I like, it's got a man's face in the middle of the neck here. Below the chimeras, and you see sitting on the edge of the vase. He's got his little pot belly out there, and he's just sitting. He's perched on the wide part of the vase. I think that's absolutely charming. Very unusual. That's a very unusual type of vase. And the patina on it's excellent. It's nice. It's even. It's rich. It's got some surface gloss to it. It's got everything you want to see on one of these. It looks absolutely great. And the estimate is not crazy for one of these. It's estimated at 10 to 15,000. And you may remember a while ago, it was either Christie's or Sotheby's had a sale of a bunch of these arrow vases, and that's the price range they bring. And I think this one is one of the nicest ones I've seen in a while because of the figure of the man. You don't see that very often, and it could do very well. It could go beyond the estimate because of the uniqueness of having a human figure on it. I think it's quite unusual. And then over to this. This is another example. A Yuan Dynasty bronze handled vase has a terrific surface on it. This has a very, very nice surface, and it's very meticulously cast. Yuan vases can look very much like this. It's got these delicate, very thin handles up top, and all this beautiful groundwork down into it, and these archaistic elements in the midsection, and then again at the base. A very attractive example, and it's good size. It measures 8.5 inches, which is about right for one of these, and is estimated at just $3,000 to $5,000. So if you've seen not too dissimilar vases even on eBay, and they bring $3,000 to $5,000. So don't let the fact that Sotheby's is selling it intimidate you. Go in there and register for the sale and take a shot at this. This is a nice bronze. And then over here to these silk roundels, Qianlong period. The silk market, as you know, has been really strong for the last 8 or 9 or 10 years, and it has not wavered much. I've been very impressed with the resilience of the Chinese textile and silk market. And these are very nice roundels. These are extremely nice. They're estimated at $20,000 to $30,000 because they are Qianlong period. They're not the Jiaqing or Daoguan that you see much more often with it sell for $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000. These are Qianlong period, and the dragons on them are beautiful. And if you think about the giant platters that you've seen, the giant chargers with the same dragon in the middle of it, the facial expression, the expression on the face of the dragon, the fierce emperor defending his people with his claws up and everything, is just a very, very powerful image. And there's a pair of them, which makes them very, very rare. You figure if one of them is worth $5,000 to $8,000. A pair of them is going to be worth at least 20, and that's sort of what they've got the estimate of 20 to 30,000 for, I assume, because pairs are very desirable. There's no other information about them except that they're pretty good size. These are 17 inches in diameter. These are pretty good size roundels. Most roundels are maybe 12 inches or 13 inches. These are a bit larger, so they're larger and very impressive. Very, very impressive. And then this is something from the Carnegie Museum, I believe. Yeah. And this was in the collection of Walter Reed Hovey, who died in 1981. And it was gifted to the museum before his death, obviously. Anyway, this is a beautiful piece of Jun Wares, Ming Dynasty, exceptional color, exceptionally potted, very even, very, very beautiful. The way the glaze suffused onto there. Jun purple splash flower pot, Ming Ming Dynasty, early 15th century. And these are among that class of pots that for a long time people were always saying, oh, these are Sung. A lot of Jun Wares were attributed to being the Sung Dynasty, and they found out since that no, they didn't really do them then. They were done in the Yuan and into the Ming Dynasty. And this is a very, very fine example made during the 1400s. It is 7.5 inches wide, and it's got an estimate of 250 to 350,000. Now, this is one of those holy grails. This is a very, very fine example. Here's a picture of the bottom of it. And it's great. The Sotheby's did a great job with the photography in this sale. I would, even if you're not going to buy anything, go in and look through the catalog, save images, use your screen capture or whatever device you have to save some of the images of the bottoms of these pieces, because the bottoms and the fronts and the backs and so forth, the details, because they're high enough resolution that they make very good reference material down the road, especially for pieces that are in your area of interest. Always remember to save pictures. There's another picture of the base from the outside. The other one was a base on the inside. There it is. And this is came from Ralph Chait Gallery back in the day, long time ago. And there it is, Sung Dynasty. That's the old sticker. They now know they aren't, but back then they thought they were. It's just how information can change. But this was originally sold apparently by Ralph M. Chait, whose company's still in business today after 100 years. All right, but it's a very lovely example, beautifully done, and you should probably chase after it. All right, what does it say when it was last sold? It just says Ralph Chait, prior to 73. It was gifted to the museum at the time of his death, apparently. Very, very nice. I don't know why Carnegie is selling these things, though. Gosh. They're not going to get any more of them. And then there's this. This is one of the more highest, maybe the highest estimated piece in the sale. Is this Yongzheng period vase, a Hu-form vase with the handles on the side. Here's the picture of the bottom of it. This is very, very, very beautiful piece. The color is exceptional. The color of the celadon is absolutely great. It's that green that was so popular among Japanese collectors and so forth. It measures 16 inches in height. It's a big pot, and it was in the collection of Herman and Paul Jahin, and then it was donated to the Newark Museum in 1941, and they have the accession number and all that business. And there's a very good write-up. I should point out, always check the write-ups on these sales. This one has a very, very good write-up on the history of this vase and how it was designed. It talks about Tang Ying, the famous kiln director for the court at the time, and how they were trying very hard to please the Emperor Yongzheng, who had a very big fascination with archaic and early Chinese arts, archaistic art, the Sung colors, the Sung glazes, and so forth, roux. He was very interested in that, and Tang Ying knew it, so he would make things to try to please the emperor to fill his curiosity. Basically, he was doing what he should do. This isn't something inappropriate. He had an emperor that wanted to be entertained and wanted to see beautiful things, and the kilns were happy to produce it. And this was an extremely fine example. It's a fairly rare type. They do not turn up very often. Sometimes in their listing they showed a crackle piece that was fairly similar, but this celadon green is just such a beautiful color. The color of this is absolutely perfect. And like I said, the estimate is 600,000 to 800,000. We'll see how it does. It should get there. It should easily get there because of its size and rarity in the form. But you never know. You don't know until the sale happens. And right now, a lot of the stuff in the market, the whole market is I think it's really being tested in the last year or two to see where the resilience lies, especially with the economic things going on around the world and so forth. You may see a lot of money pouring into hard assets because of the bumps that they're hitting the stock market right now. But we'll see. You never know. All right. And then there's this very fine 6-post Ming Dynasty early 17th century bed. This is a superb example. It's an absolutely superb example. And on this case, there's also a very good a write-up on the importance of these beds in Chinese culture and how they were put on the inner sanctum, the inner bedrooms of a wealthy person or a government official's home, is sort of a sanctuary for the women in the household. And they were made beautiful furniture for them. And this is one of the pieces that they would have had, and it would have been not only for sleeping and procreating, as they point out in the article, but also as a social environment where you can sit and talk and have sort of, close conversations with people and enjoy the company of others in this very, very finely done bed. It's really an exceptional one. They have some very good photographs, incidentally. Here you have these roundels with the chimeras in the center and so forth. There's a lot of symbolism in these beds. You have this very beautiful lattice pattern that was carved and made for it. It's just a stupendous looking thing. And the estimate is right up there. The estimate is at 400,000 to 600,000, but it's not out of the range at all. There have been several that have sold in the $500,000 to $700,000 range. This could easily do that as well. The dealer is right now, I think that maybe Sotheby's is playing a little bit smart, giving a little bit lower estimates than they might have 5 or 10 years ago, just because they don't want to discourage participation. They don't want to discourage participation in their sales. But this is a great bed. It's tremendous. And then there's this. This is very nice. A Jiaqing Marchant period crackleware vase. It's a Ge-type. The Ge crackle from the Sui Dynasty carried forward and reproduced during the Jiaqing period in the early 1800s. But it's a lovely, lovely example. And the crackle glaze on this is just so beautifully done, and it's faceted going around the side. So it's structurally, it's a fairly complicated piece of porcelain all the way up. But it looks to be in very, very good condition. I think it's about 10 inches tall or 9 inches tall. It's a nice size, 9 inches tall. There it is, 6 character mark. And let's see. It says here that these vases are particularly rare. Another example is in the Mayan Tang collection, another famous collection, and illustrated by Regina Krall in Chinese ceramics from the Mayan Tang collection. It was published back in 1984. And I don't think the estimate on this is at all crazy. Marchant period, rare form, beautiful glaze, perfectly done, $10,000 to $15,000 estimate, and it's 9 inches tall. That's not a bad deal. That's a pretty good deal. We'll see where that ends up. And then you have this. This is just one of the many pieces of Chongzhen ware and late Ming ware and transitional wares in the sale. This very attractive vase. I like this a lot. I like the fact that the scenes are fairly large. There's not too much border put in here, and it's all just a sort of a continuous scene running around the piece. And you have the ladies in the garden and carrying flowers and whatnot. I think it's just very attractive. And there's a good photograph of the bottom of it. That's what you want to see. That's what the bottom of one of these should look like. If it doesn't look like this, question what's going on. But this is a very, very attractive piece of porcelain. And the estimate is reasonable. The estimate is $6,000 to $8,000, which is right in the range these days. I remember a few months ago there was one of this type that turned up at an auction out in California or something, and it wasn't as well done, and it was made a little bit, maybe it was Wanli a little bit before, but not much. Not Chongzhen. And Chongzhen period pieces are extremely desirable in today's market. And that one had a broken neck that had been restuck, and I think that brought 6,000. Not including the 5,800 plus the buyer's premium, whatever that comes out to. So 6,000 to 8,000 for this is very reasonable. I think that's a more than reasonable estimate, and it measures 13 inches in height. So it's one of the larger ones. Some of them are fairly small; they're 9 or 10 inches. This is 13 inches, which is more in the upper end of those how they turn out. And then there's this. This is one of the big deals in the sale. This is a very, very, very rare, large, massive, actually 20-inch tall piece of Dehua made by He Shozhong. And he was the famous Dehua potter who lived during the 1500s. He was born, I think, around 1522. They don't really know when he died. They sort of estimate it, but he was fairly prolific, but he had an amazing skill at making very, very complicated pieces of Dehua. And because Dehua clay, the clay they have there is very different than the clay that they used in Qingdechen. This kind of clay was more of a modeling clay. The texture of it, the characteristics of it, it held its form very, very well. And as you can see here, the folds and the robes, you don't see this kind of technique or these kinds of details on porcelains typically out of Qingdechen, with these flowing robes being able to be made with Dehua clay. And the creaminess of the glaze, the perfect, and he did a lot of Taoist figures, I should point out. So this was really his wheelhouse, and this beautiful, beautiful picture of the image of the Guanyin, the fabulous face. The face is absolutely perfect, and then the very complicated knots of hair on top. And it's estimated at $600,000 to $800,000. But these are exceedingly rare. This is not your standard Dehua Blanc de Chine figure of a Guanyin. There are others in the sale here that are very nice, that are more along that line, that are estimated at $8,000 to $12,000, $8,000 to $10,000, something like that. So this is head and shoulders above. This is for the really hardcore collector that wants something done by this famous artist. And it's one of the few. There are not a lot of Chinese ceramics out there that had signatures of artists back in those days. In Dehua they did, but really rarely or never, and hardly ever in Qing de Chen. They did. The artist who ever did the work was rarely given credit on the piece. On these examples, they have a stamp that would apply to the back, and this is one of them. And it's just a great example. Very powerfully done. Absolutely powerfully done. Beautiful thing. And as I said, 20 inches tall, so it's quite large. Maybe one of the largest ones he ever did, actually. And then there's this very nice Kangxi vase, extremely attractive. It's a rouleau vase. Nice ground. It's got these cartouches shaped like cut leaves. Nice overglazed blue decoration and overglazed other enamels. And it appears to be in pretty good shape from what I can see from the pictures. I don't see a lot of rubbing to it. It's about 28 inches tall, so it's a fairly tall vase. It's over 2 feet tall, almost 2.5 feet in height, and has got the classical, carp scenes and fish scenes, and then hearts up above with birds on them. And then you have here you have a panel like a leaf page out of a book with a landscape scene, and below it is a rondel with flowers coming up with bamboo leaves and so forth. It's very pretty. It's a very, very pretty vase. Estimated at $30,000 to $50,000, and it appears to be in good shape. And it was in a private collection. It was acquired sometime between 1971 and 1981. So it sounds like it came out of an estate. That's usually how those sort of vague dates come into being, because somebody, it was in somebody's family and they don't know when dad or mom bought it, or when grandpa bought it. They just know he bought it, within a range of years. So a 10-year range for acquisition is the most you're going to get here. But it doesn't matter. You're buying it for what it is. It's a beautiful piece of ceramic. And this is another very nice Kangxi jar. And this has got a modest estimate, $6,000 to $8,000. It measures 14 inches in height. It had been in the Newark Museum, but it's a lovely example. Very crisply painted, nice patterns, nice details. I love the lady up above here on the wall looking down, and it's a very sort of peculiar visual perspective. The way this garden scene is laid out, it makes sense, but it's a bit odd the way the perspective of the woman on the right here, and then the woman up above, and the way this is done here. It's sort of all got pushed into the round. It's a curious combination of design, but it works. And then you have an interior scene sort of coming into the corner here. It's a nice looking piece of pottery, though, porcelain, and there's a picture of the bottom with the accession mark on it and so forth. Very typical bottom to a Kangxi jar of this type. It's got a leaf in the middle, which was often used. There were a number of patterns and things that they used on them, and sometimes rain marks, but not often. And then over to this. This is a couple of very rare things, and I'm going to be really curious to see what these bring. These are Xianfeng Marchant period copper red bowls, and they appear to be very, very nice, beautiful examples. And Xianfeng was emperor from 1850 to 1861, so it's right in there. But there's very little Marchant period porcelain from this period. There's almost none, and every time Marchant period pieces turn up from this era, they do very, very well. So don't be surprised. The estimate on it, I think, is fairly strong, but not unreasonable. The estimate is $30,000 to $50,000, and if you go looking around, you're going to find authentic Xianfeng monochromes. A bowl like this by itself, a single bowl, would probably sell for $15,000 to $25,000, $15,000 to $20,000 pretty comfortably. So $30,000 to $50,000 for a pair is not unreasonable. Remember, we always consider a pair is worth roughly 3 times the price of a single, because coming up with pairs of authentic pairs is very hard to do. And it's why pairs of fakes often get people in trouble, because they have that mindset that, oh, it's a pair, they're very rare, and they forget completely that they are rare, and the one you're looking at probably isn't. But these look fine. Isn't authentic. I mean, and these are very nicely done. They're perfectly matched from what I can see. The colors are very good. The colors are both balanced equally on both pieces. The mark is well done on the bottom, and they're very nicely shaped. So we'll see if what they do at the end. Yeah, 30 to 50,000. And then over to this, there are a lot of nice jades in this sale. This is one that caught my eye. I like the vase forms, and this one has branches all over it, coming up over the top and down around, wrapping around the bottom, and then plants coming up and rocks on the sides and so forth. Sort of complicated. It's got a very nicely carved top with lappets in it. It's very attractive, and it's estimated at $40,000 to $60,000. But it has a very nice. It has a Z-tan stand apparently. Did they show the stand? I don't know if they did or not. Hold on. I don't remember seeing it. They didn't include the stand in the photographs for some reason. I don't know why, but apparently it has a Z-tan stand. It measures 8 inches in height, and it was sold by Marchant back in 2015, 10 years ago, and very attractive piece of jade. It's a beautiful greenish white color, and we'll see how it does. It's got prunus vase with cover and so forth, but a fine example. And that's sort of the flavor of the sale right through. There's good furniture, there's good jades, there's very good porcelain, as you saw, lots of nice bronzes, early bronzes, and Yuan and Ming Dynasty bronzes, great piece of Jun Wares. It's a sale worth checking out. Lots of Buddhist, gilt bronze Buddhist figures and so forth. There's one over here that's really, really fine. It's a Sui Dynasty example. It's estimated 250 to 250 to 350,000, but it's very nice. It's 6 inches tall. And where did this come from? It came from the collection of Feng Chao up until 2012. It was acquired in 1990, and then it was auctioned at Christie's about 12 years ago. There it is. Nice looking example. So again, lots of material to pick from in the sale, lots of interesting objects, and and some of them are not all $200,000 and $100,000. I should point that out over and over. There are lots of pieces in here that are in the buying range of the average collector, or the collector who's a little bit more aggressive and maybe only buys something really nice for himself once or twice, a year or every year or two. This is a good sale to look at. You'll find some nice things in here, and there's some very nice Tang pieces, as I said, lots of nice furniture and so forth. So check it out. Check it out. All right. So that's all there is on this. We got some other previews to get to, and they'll be coming along. And I'm going to talk about a book that's coming out. It's out right now. That's available through Arts of Asia. It's a tremendous book. I'm going to do a video on it probably tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. It's a terrific volume on bronze scholars objects from the Yuan and Ming Dynasty principally, and there's some extremely fine examples in there. It's a personal collection of one of the editors at the magazine, and I think it's going to be a great reference material because there's very little published on this, and this has got all the descriptions, all of the information, the usages, the history of it, everything. It's quite scholarly. It's very well illustrated. I have a copy of it here. I've been enjoying it, and we're going to be putting up a video about this book, and I would urge you to buy it. All right, you got to build a library to build a good collection. That's all there is to it. All right, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you soon. All right, bye-bye.